Parenting, right? I'm a parent, and guys, I gotta say, that is some unexpected, freight train hitting, anxiety inducing, sleep depriving, boss level shit to handle. And hats off, because you're already a freaking legend if you join that club. If you got a kid with ADHD, wow. That's a club you didn't expect to be joining, right? Well, you're here now, and extra legend points to you, my friend, because as if dealing with a child, being a parent, wasn't challenging enough, that extra layer of ADHD goodness, well, that's enough to test anyone's mettle. But I know you're made of strong stuff, and hey, even the strongest of things can do with a little extra support from time to time. So here are 4 things that might just help you parent your kids even better than you already do if they have ADHD. Number 1, education. You're already here educating yourself about what ADHD is and how it might be affecting your kids and their day-to-day struggles through life. You are amazing. You've already crossed that first hurdle. Try to remember that ADHD as a thing is nothing to be frightened of. It can't kill you on its own, and there's nothing wrong with your children. Yeah, sure, they might act differently to other kids, but if you start to get that knowledge and understanding of what ADHD is and how it's affecting their behavior, you can create an environment that supports them to be a wonderful, functional human being, and they can go on to create amazing things and do amazing things for this world. Having that deep understanding of what's going on in their brains and in their lives, well, that can help you with the following tips, and it can help you implement them just a little bit easier because you kind of already know what's going on. Number 2, develop empathy and practice patience. It's not going to be long before you start to understand and realize that your kids just can't help their behavior. If you educate yourself and you take care of yourself, then that empathy and that patience will be just so much easier to find. The hard truth is that your kid will always have ADHD in some way or another. They literally can't help it. Bringing the hammer down with phrases like, can't you just try harder, or can't you just be more disciplined, or can't you just be more organised? It's the equivalent to asking a diabetic, can't you just produce more insulin? No, absolutely not. That's the nature of their disease, and the nature of ADHD as a disorder is that we cannot do these things naturally or easily. You might not know this, but ADHD children are corrected thousands of times more than neurotypical children. Don't do that, sit still, don't get up, don't talk as fast, don't talk as much, don't talk as loudly, talk a bit more loud. All of these corrections, they just chip away at a young person's self-esteem. And if you can develop that empathy to understand what that might feel like, to have your self-esteem chipped away at every day, and then develop the patience to accept some of the behaviors that they can't control, well, you're onto a winner, because your children are going to feel so much more secure with who they are and how they behave, that self-esteem, that self-worth grows through time, and they're able to overcome some of the challenges and difficulties. It's worth thinking about different environments that might be helpful for your children as well. Specialist schools, living in the countryside. You know, some of these things are put in place to help people like your children with ADHD. There's no shame in taking your child to a specialist school that is fully developed to help with the struggles of ADHD. If you frame it right, going to a specialist school isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. They're getting the attention that they need. They're getting the support that they need. You're onto a winner when you start developing the empathy for how they might be feeling day to day. And even better if you can develop that patience to practice with them, because I know I was really annoying, but it is what it is, and I am where I am. Number 3, language. Your children, our children, none of them are born with the language to describe how they feel at any given moment. None of us are born with the DSM-5 in our head, or with any sort of intrinsic, deep and large vocabulary of mental health issues, particularly neurodivergent mental health issues. That's a fucking minefield, son. With that in mind, it's our job as parents to teach them what the words are and what the words mean. I don't mean to patronize anybody or teach anybody to suck eggs, of course not. I just hope that my perspective might bring something fresh and might help you. Now, I've used a couple of particular phrases and techniques with kids of my friends, and they seem to have helped. So I asked them if they're feeling the word, and then explain what the word could feel like. So a couple of examples of this are you feeling anxious? Anxious is when you have a lot of thoughts all in one go, and it can make you feel a bit worried. Do you feel anxious? Does that make sense? Are you feeling depressed? Depressed is when you feel like you can't think very well. You might feel like there's loads of clouds or loads of cotton wool or candy floss in your head, and you just can't think very well. You might not be able to think any thoughts or feel any feelings. Does that sound like something that's going on? That's depression. Do you think that your medication might be too strong? That's when your heart might be beating really quickly. You might feel like there's a drummer inside your chest and you might get really hot and not know why. That's when your medication's too strong. You need to tell mummy and daddy, because we can talk to your doctor and get that changed. Do you feel overwhelmed? This is kind of my favorite. How many kids don't know what feeling overwhelmed is, yet feel it more or less hourly every day? Are you feeling overwhelmed? That's when you feel like you've got too much to do, or if you don't get it done, then you'll be in trouble. Well, you won't be in trouble, but if that's how you feel, let's talk about it. By educating our children in this way, we support them in learning about their own condition and their own minds and their own personality and their own experience of life. Because if they don't have that kind of support, they might end up with low self-esteem issues, they might end up with other mental health issues and comorbidities of ADHD. There's another video on that, but we'll talk about that another time. And hey, if you've got any examples of how you've spoken to your kids or your friends' kids about mental health issues, about how they might be feeling and how you've explained it, leave them in the comments. I really want to hear, and you might be helping somebody else. So number 3, language. Let's teach them how to talk about this. Number 4, self-care. ADHD is just as challenging for those of us who support it as it is for those of us who suffer from it. Be kind to yourself. This is not your fault. You didn't cause their ADHD. And even if it took a long time to pick it up, you've picked it up now, and you're here educating yourself, trying to be better, trying to support them. You're a damn good parent if you ask me, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Make sure that you communicate about your struggles as a supporter. One of the best ways to practice self-care is to communicate that you need a break, because honey, you're gonna need a break. ADHD kids are friggin' mental. Like, it's hilarious, but it's exhausting, and you need to be aware of what your limits are and what your capacity is, so that first of all you can not go over that, and second of all so that you can build it up over time. Communicating with your partner and your support network about when you need to take a break ensures that your mental health is sound. Your kids need you to be sound, solid, grounded, healthy to support them way more than neurotypical children do. And by engaging in that self-care, communication, breaks, spa days, going to bed early, going to the gym, boring, eating broccoli, boring. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know it's boring and I know it can be challenging, but honestly, taking care of yourself is the best way to take care of your children. Think about it as when you get on a flight somewhere. You're always advised to put your mask on before somebody else's if there's a problem. Because if you die, then you can't help yourself nor anybody else because you're dead. So look after yourself. That's the point. Look after yourself. You deserve to. And what's more, your kids deserve you to too. Too? As well. So there you go. There's 4 things that I hope might give you some insight and might give you a different perspective on how you can do things to parent your kids even better than I'm sure you are already doing so. Educate yourself, develop some empathy and patience, teach them the language that they need to express themselves, and most of all, look after yourself. At the end of the day, there's plenty of support out there. You've just got to ask for it. There are always links in the description of these videos to charities and organizations that can help you as a parent of an ADHD child, you as a parent who might have ADHD yourself, and you as an ADHDer, whether you're a child or an adult, regardless. They're always in the description. The last thing from me is, as always, the best place for initial support is to talk to your doctor. And then make sure that your kids are taking their meds if they're right for them. And above all, have a great day.